Welcome back to an embodied engagement with me, Kate Crouch, here at Missoula Art Museum. And today we're looking at a collection by Todd Forsgren called The World is Round. This is about perception and preconceptions of what we see in the world around us. So to begin with, I found it really interesting that he's broken up his work into 7 different senses, but not the senses that we're typically seeing when we think about feel and touch and smell. The 7 different senses that he chose were staring, dreaming, wondering, breaking, measuring, traversing, and drawing. And we're just going to focus on dreaming and traversing. The work that he chose for his sense of dreaming is behind me, and it's called This Is Not an Event Horizon. And this is a photograph of the Polaris star, something that many people take photographs of. So let's get into the embodied part. Making yourself comfortable, whether you're seated or in a chair, or maybe you just want to lie down, because we're going to do some imagining. Let your body become very heavy, maybe even a little bit heavier, so that every exhale, you feel more in touch with the ground beneath you. Notice if it's cool or warm. And then notice your skin, any cool or warm sensations on the skin. And then start to feel the relationship with your body and the hard ground. Warm, soft body and cool, hard earth, or cold, hard ground. Let's take another breath together. And start to draw up in your imagination the night sky. Most of us are thinking of the night sky from either a standing or reclined position, just as you are right now. Feel free to close your eyes. You'll see perhaps little pinpricks that look stable or flashing to you. Our perception on Earth is the slow movement of the sky above us. The perception through the photographer's lens is both rotation and revolution. So we are rotating and revolving, moving in space, as well as continuing to move just as we are. We can hold both of these things as being true. So the world is many different layers. And think of the night sky, and now think of the night sky when you're in your bed or maybe camping, as it changes our emotion and relationship to the night sky. So we're able to hold all of these truths at the same time. Our point of view changes over time, and just like the night sky is changing. So when you're ready, go ahead and peek back at This Is Not an Event Horizon. So our artwork that we're looking at. And seeing all of these different layers that would be happening just from a solid one person's viewpoint through the lens. There's a lot of motion, even though they're standing still. What does this make you feel? Take a moment and a breath. What feelings come up for you as you both think about your relationship with the night sky and then this point of view, your point of view and these different things? So what do you feel? And it could be multiple things. You could feel a little anxious, a little overwhelmed. Sometimes when you look at the night sky, right, we're just this tiny little thing in space. All right, and so once you've let those feelings come up, since all art is a way of communicating feelings, now what do you sense? And this doesn't necessarily need to be those 5 senses. This one was dreaming. Is there something you dream of, or a sense of well-being, or a sense of change or consistency? What are your senses telling you? And now, I think this is the most curious part, what do you imagine happening next? So from the perspective of the art, what do you think the next thing would be? Is it going to continue to be this single revolution? Is it going to change? Is it going to shift? So let yourself have your own feeling about the artwork, about its subject, what you sense, and then what you imagine happening next. Take as much time, maybe another 3 breaths, to just let yourself be in this sort of dreaming state of feeling, sensing, and imagining. And 1 more breath. Feeling your body in contact with the floor, warmth and coolness. And feel free to pause as before we move on to the second half. So now as we move on to our second half of The World is Round, can continue to delve into these different shifts. This collection is pretty humorous, and so I'm hoping that we can have a little fun with this next one as we look at different perceptions. So this is traversing, and as part of those 7 senses that I was mentioning before. And the name of the work of art is Bare Filter Array Garden. What's curious about this, and what is where the humor kind of comes in, is that this is a digital photograph of a sculpture about how digital photographs are put together with these blue and red pixelations, and how when it's these different arrays of pixelations that create the photo that you see, or whatever the digital work is that you see. So it's a lens looking into a sculpture about perception through digitation. I think that's a word. And here we are, being filmed in, I can see it, 4K digital. And then you'll have whatever lens it is that you're looking through. So now we're creating these different perceptions and layers on top of one another that is all about this actual landscape that has a sculpture on it that I haven't seen, but I know is real because there's a photograph of it. So this is a really curious way of having all of these different perceptions and layers and visions of something that's true. It is true that there is a sculpture about digitalization. Again, I think that's a word, and you're watching that. So let that kind of wash over you. I found it to be super intriguing, and going back to our anchoring of the 3 points. What do you feel? What do you sense? What do you imagine? So as we discover these truths, we'll take a breath. And maybe through whatever lens it is, you can look around in your space and see some things that are tangible. So it's something that's tangible to you. A cup, whatever is real and true, something you can hold on to, tactile even. And go ahead and look around your space. And now the perception of what it took to make that. So start to peel back those layers. And feel free to then shift Back to your eyes to the screen. It's looking at me. It's looking at another piece in all those different layers. And we'll take a moment. What do you feel? How does this make you feel? These different layers. What it took to create all of these different things. How does that make you feel? And then what do you sense? Are you sensing connection, or does it feel more and more removed? What are other lenses that you look through? We've got our phones, all of these different things. And now, what do you imagine? What can you imagine? What could this be a jumping off point for creating? And we'll sit with that feel, sense, imagine, and all of these layered truths. Taking another nice deep breath. Feeling the ground beneath you. Is there anything that feels like it's shifted or there's new feelings? And can you sit with those feelings through the body, and then we'll work a little bit more with the breath. So as you breathe in, what are the senses? Do you feel warmth and coolness, heavy, light? And we're going to go a little bit deeper since we're peeling back these physical layers. The physical layer, and then your breath layer. Notice if you're breathing evenly through both nostrils, or maybe one's more dominant than the other. What does it feel like to take a longer, fuller breath? And can you, either with eyes open or closed, start to allow that physical form and your breath form to move a little bit into your background of what you're sensing? And can you imagine, those things are true, but is it also true that you can feel or imagine, maybe you do sense, that which is yourself without form? So all of these subtler energies of the body starting to move. Things that you can't see, that don't have these physical layers. And what does that feel like? What's something you wonder about? So you go through Forsgren's 7 senses, now that we're in a space where we can let our kind of more subtler energies in the body connect with the world around us in a different perception. Is there something else you're dreaming of? Something you're drawing on? Or measuring? I think that one's curious. As we continue to connect to different pieces of artwork more deeply, maybe finding different truths that you wouldn't have thought of before, but are still real. We'll come back. So reconnect with the sense of breath moving through the body and the physicality of the body where it is in space, feeling the weight of the body on the floor, contact with the chair, wherever you are. And then this humor of these different layers. So you're looking at me through a lens, and we're looking at this. And to end with today, hopefully starting to see the world around you in different, newer perspectives. I hope that you enjoyed our time together. Take a nice deep breath. And thank you.